So I want to welcome everybody to the Greater Cincinnati Environmental Educators. This is our first ever virtual Ultimate Educator Expo. This is actually the 22nd year. And if you guys were here last time, you heard me say 21st, but I was corrected. It's the 22nd year of hosting this expo. In the last several years, we've been at the zoo. If any of you have been able to join us there, it's been a fabulous time. But we are super excited about this new format that we're going through. Everybody's doing everything virtual, so we're definitely learning along the way. At any time, you can visit the GCEE website to find all kinds of virtual resources, programs, field trips, activities, grants, all kinds of stuff. And all of our member organizations, we have over 30 member organizations, and all their information is posted on that website. So you can go to www.gce-ee.org, and I will give that website several times throughout today. A few housekeeping reminders, and I will talk about this before each of our sessions today. If you have any questions for the presenters, if you could please type it in the Q&A. I will be monitoring this, and I will ask the presenters questions towards the end of their session. So any questions that pop up, please feel free to stick them in the Q&A whenever you think about them. We are recording this session, and this will appear on our YouTube page and on the GCEE website within 2 weeks of the end of this expo. We will also be picking a door prize winner at the end of the breakout sessions. So we'll pick a random name, and if you are that person, we will ask you to raise your hand and let us know that you're still here, and we will get you your door prize. If there are any handouts, and I know there's handouts from the first session, I think there's handouts from both sessions today. They are posted on the GCEE website. So again, you can go to www.gc-ee.org. I know there's a lot of rhyming letters in there. And also at the end of the day, if you would like a certificate of participation, I will show you where to get that as well. Okay, so I want to welcome everybody, and without further ado, we're going to start off today with our first animal encounter, and we have Crystal, who is our ball python, and she's handled by Caden, who's an AmeriCorps volunteer. Hi, Caden, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great. I have Crystal the ball python with me. She is so ball pythons are usually found in West Africa, around the grasslands there. Crystal here is 28 years old. She has been at the Cincinnati Zoo for many years. She's one of our more active ball pythons. So ball pythons are, they'll sit in a tree and wait for their prey to come to them, so they're not super active snakes. But Crystal is very curious. As you can see, she's checking out everything that's around her and smelling. I am one of the AmeriCorps members here at the Cincinnati Zoo. We have a lot of school programs that we do, and in their normal years, we would be going out to the schools and going to the classrooms. Since we cannot do that right now, we have been doing a lot of virtual programs and connecting with classrooms that way. If anybody has any questions about Crystal, feel free to type them in the chat box. So ball pythons are constrictors, which means that they will wrap around their prey and kill them that way. It has previously been thought that they killed their prey by crushing them, but now there's new evidence that's showing that it may be that they actually just cut off the blood supply to their prey's brain, which is really interesting. Pythons are special in that they have, let's see if Crystal will show them all, what are called heat sensing pits on their nose. You can see those little spots around her nose. those can pick up infrared or heat changes. She can sense up to 3/1000ths of a degree in a temperature change. And that'll alert her that something that might be prey is around. And that is something that pythons and boas and some vipers have. As you can see, Crystal is very, very curious about what this thing is in front of her face. So ball pythons are, like I said, they're constrictors. They eat mainly any small mammals, so like mice, rats. They'll eat toads, eggs. Here at the zoo, Crystal will eat mice. They are eaten by birds of prey. Some larger snakes will eat them, some mammals. So they have these great spots in this pattern, which helps them to camouflage in the grasslands because they can look like a stick. As you can see, she's using her tongue to smell, which all snakes do. Their tongue will pick up all kinds of chemical stimuli from the surrounding area, and she brings it back into her mouth to her Jacobson's organ, which is a line of sensors on the roof of her mouth that interpret those chemical stimuli and tell her what is around her. She is showing off her length right now. They can get between 3 and 5 feet in length.
There may have been some people who joined late. Could you remind them how old Crystal is?
Yeah, Crystal here is 28 years old. She is a pro at doing interpretive encounters. So like I said earlier, for anyone that joined late, we are doing here at the zoo our school program since we cannot currently take animals to a classroom and see them in person. We are doing a lot of virtual programs, and those are available on our website.
Kaden, I had a few questions that popped up too. I know you said she's 28 years old, but how long do ball pythons usually live?
So they can live up to, I think, about 30, 35 years.
So she's getting close to being a senior citizen, huh?
She is. She doesn't think so, though.
And remind us, where do these ball pythons come from, and are they considered endangered at all?
So they are from West Africa in the savanna areas and the grasslands. They are currently, their endangerment status has not really been evaluated. There is threats from the pet trade and from people using them for using their scales and their skin for like boots and things like that. So they are under threat and, you know, habitat loss. But we do not know yet how much their numbers are declining. We want them to see your face.
So how long would you say Crystal is, and typically how long would they get?
I would say she's probably about 4 feet long. She can get, so ball pythons will get anywhere from 3 to 5 feet long. So they can get pretty long. So we do not have ball pythons here in the Ohio area, but we do have a lot of other snakes and a lot of other snake species here. And our snake species are often under threat from habitat loss, habitat fragmentation, from people capturing them and using them in the pet trade. So if you are out, it's great. I mean, a great way to help out with habitat loss is to plant a lot of native species in your gardens. And those can create little wildlife corridors. If you see a snake out, they are friends and they are helping out. They are keeping down populations of things like bunnies or mice, which might eat your garden plants. So you definitely want to have snakes around. They're definitely not aggressive. Most snakes will only attack if they feel like they are threatened, and they feel like they're threatened if you're in their space. So we have time for a couple more questions.
I just have to say, I'm not sure if that's Kayla doing the video, but oh my goodness, those are just some amazing shots. Beautiful face. We did have a couple other questions, and I'm sure your arms are getting tired because people want to know, how much does Crystal weigh?
You know what? I am not sure how much she weighs. She's not super heavy. I'd say she's probably around a pound or 2. She's not that heavy.
She definitely looks like she would weigh more than that. Are they venomous at all?
They are not. They are non-venomous. Their main defense is they will hiss, and they can shake their tail and rattle leaves and kind of sound like a rattlesnake that way. But ball pythons are non-venomous snakes.
Well, Kaden and Kayla, I want to thank you both so much. You did an absolutely wonderful job. And of course, thank you to Crystal, our ball python, for being such a willing participant. Oh, her face is so gorgeous.
We'll see you guys later.
Yes, thank you both so much. And remember, to our attendees, you can check back in at 4 o'clock for another animal encounter from the zoo. Thank you so much, ladies. So for those of you who are just joining us, I want to welcome you. And for those of you who have been here at the beginning, welcome back to the Greater Cincinnati Environmental Educators first ever virtual Ultimate Educator Expo. This is actually our 22nd year that we've been doing the Ultimate Educator Expo. It is our first ever doing this online, so we're all learning along the way. We hope you like this format, and we hope you get some great information and great sessions. At any time, please feel free to go to the GCEE website. All of our member information is on there. We have over 30 organizations around the Greater Cincinnati area that are members of GCEE, and you can find all of that information on our website, www.gc-ee.org. Lots of letters that sound the same. A few housekeeping items for those of you who are just joining us. If you have a question at all for any of the presenters, please type it in the Q&A. I will be monitoring that Q&A, and I will ask our presenters towards the end of the session those questions that you had. Again, we are recording these sessions, so you can view them later. You can share them with teachers later. You can share them with your class later. All of that stuff, again, will be available on our website within 2 weeks of the end of the Expo. At the end of this session, we will also be picking a door prize winner. So you definitely want to stick around for your door prize. And the handouts for this session and any other session this week are also available on our website. Again, that's www.gc-ee.org. Now, without further ado, I want to introduce our first breakout session presenters for the day. First, we have Dennis Clement and Carolyn Watkins from the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency. So Dennis, take it away.
All right, thanks, Gwen. You can hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, very good. All right, so welcome everybody. These are difficult times that we're going through, so this is wonderful that GCEE was able to bring the virtual workshop conference get together, if you will, to you via the computer screen. So today we're going to be here talking about Project WET and some interesting free materials that you can get online, and then an online training, and then eventually when you hopefully are allowed to have presenters like Gwen and Sarah from the Hamilton County Soil and Water District back into your classroom, eventually maybe be able to apply for an environmental education fund grant to buy supplies so that you can do these activities from the Project WET curriculum. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And Gwen, can you see that as well?
We can definitely see that, Dennis. Thank you.
All right, thanks. So this is a resource that is provided, as I said, free of charge from Project WET. Project WET, just a little bit of background, come to Ohio back in 1995 through the Division of Soil and Water Resources, Soil and Water Conservation at that time. USGS was another partner in that, bringing this curriculum to Ohio, and a few other collaborators as well brought the curriculum. It actually started out in the late 80s in the state of Montana. And now today they have their own office out in Montana. They're kind of a standalone entity. We have coordinators clear across the country, and then also clear across the world that use Project WET International as well. So that's just a little bit about Project WET. There are some slides that Gwen and her team are going to post to the GCE website she talked about, that you're welcome to look at, just a little bit of detail about Project WET, and then also some information about the Ohio Environmental Education Fund, and then details on how to use this particular site as well. So feel free to tap into those resources and use those, and then use this site as well. So today we're going to be looking at a couple of the tabs that you see up here at the very top of this activity. There's the water cycle we're going to look at. We're also going to look at investigate fresh water, and then also explore watersheds. So as you click on these particular tabs, you can go in and learn about all these different topics. So one that's pretty popular right now, as you can imagine, is called soap and water science, with everybody washing their hands and putting all kinds of hand sanitizer on. That's been a pretty popular tab that we won't look at today, but it's a great site. Blue Planet is one that, again, we won't look at, but again, it talks about water on the surface of the earth, There's an activity in there where students can see the difference of the amount of water that's on the surface of the earth as far as land surfaces. And then we have one that's called Discover Our Oceans. You can kind of imagine what that's all about. And then we have Use Water Wisely, as far as the amount of water you use, whether you leave the water spigot run when you're brushing your teeth or so forth. And then we all use water. You can also click over a little bit further. There's one here on healthy water, healthy people. And then there's also, as well, activities that are in Spanish. And then we have back to the soap and water again. So it just kind of keeps wrapping around. So let's go ahead and take a look at our first one that we're going to look at today. This is the water cycle. Click on this. And I'm going to go up here and share my computer sound. And while it loads, I'm going to go ahead and silence it just so you kind of hear over top of the sound that it's making, but a water sound. But first thing, when you first click on one of the activities or all three of the tabs or any of the tabs, you're going to see that you're going to have some information here about the water cycle. And then also you can play a video, and then there's audio that you can play as well. And then on the far side, you're going to have different things to do for that particular tab. So here we're going to discover the water cycle activity. We're going to look at Blue Traveler activity as well. There's a short quiz on what did you learn. There's also, and I will say all three of these items, the Take Action, My Science Notebook, and then Educators and Parents, those three are all identical on each of the tabs. So the very first time, we won't look at those through the other two tabs that we're going to look at. So go ahead and click on, let's play the video and learn about the water cycle.
Where does water come from and where does it go? The water cycle is the endless movement of water around the planet. Earth's natural systems are constantly moving and using water. As a liquid, gas, or solid, powered by the sun and the force of gravity, water travels over, under, and above the surface of the Earth in an incredible journey called the water cycle.
And then there's a few more videos, other activities as well that you can go into that we've uploaded to the YouTube channel as well. So it just doesn't end with this particular tab. Okay, so that's just the introduction. And if we go back over here, let's go ahead and look at our water cycle activity. So this basically pops up how you play the game. So we're going to hover over each word to learn about it. And then we're going to drag the words to find the correct arrows in the drawing. So we'll go ahead and close out of that. We'll look at precipitation. And we learned that rain and snow precipitate or fall from the sky. So then you basically want to do is you want to click and hold on precipitation and then find where you should see rain or snow falling from the sky. And you would find that arrow.
Precipitation. Rain and snow precipitate or fall from the sky.
And let's just go ahead and do a couple more. Let's do flow. Click and hold again. And we're going to do this.
Flow. Liquid water flows from higher to lower elevation due to gravity.
All right. And then one of my favorites, let's do excretion. And it makes it fun for the kids to kind of find these areas here.
Excretion. Animals excrete water through their waste.
And then let's try transpiration.
Transpiration. Liquid water transpires to water vapor from a plant's leaves.
So that kind of gives you an idea of how that particular activity works. So then you have more information down here about Project WET, the sponsors for this particular discoverwater.org. And then if you have questions, you can over here and you can ask or find questions about how to play the activity. And then you go over here and there's the exit. and it brings you back to the main page. Then the next area, we'll look at blue traveler activity. It does take it a few minutes to load, so you just be a little patient to have it load. How to play the activity, become a blue traveler, a water droplet taking a complicated and endless journey through the water cycle. Click on the water droplet to begin your journey, travel through the water cycle. Let's play the audio first.
Become a blue traveler, a water droplet taking a complicated and endless journey through the water cycle.
We'll go over here and we'll grab on it.
River. You've made it into a river.
Then you can continue with your journey and find out more.
Bridger's challenge. Answer the question correctly to continue along your water cycle journey.
Bridger's challenge is a scientist who studies rivers is called a glaciologist, a botanist, meteorologist, or river hydrologist. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on river hydrologist. And we click the arrow to spin.
Evaporation. You evaporated from liquid water to water vapor.
And then you can go on from there, playing the activity.
You've arrived in the clouds.
So we can continue our journey. What is the main process by which clouds are formed? Condensation, gravity, precipitation, and electrical current. Let's just go ahead and just say gravity for giggles. Oh, we got a wrong answer. So clouds to form. Nope, condensation. There we go. Now we can spin the arrow and see where our journey takes us next. And you can see over here, it builds your journey through the water cycle. Okay, all right, we're going to exit out of this. We'll go back. Let it load. And then what did we learn in this activity? The water is never used up by cycles around the planet. Water is never used up by cycles around the planet. There you go. How's that?
Much better. Thank you.
And water, it says correct. Water moves constantly through the water cycle, but it can never be used up or go away. And that's quizzes that you can go through. You can certainly go next, answer the next questions, and so forth and so on. Or we can go back. And then you can also exit. Then the last three tabs, then, as I said, are on all the main tabs at the top of the page. You can take action. You're actually building a poster of things that you can do. So you drag different things as you go through and do all the quizzes or tests. You can drag things over and put them in here to take action type thing in your watershed. So close out of that. My science notebook. You can print your own science notebook pages for your online experience. Select an image below and view a printable science notebook. And then the last thing for educators and parents, there's more information. Project WET has some great kids activity booklets that you can purchase online. You can learn more there. There's some educator resources and then educational standards. Now these are the standards that are Common Core, Next Generation Science standards as well, and then also the ocean literacy principles. Just so you're aware, Project WET activities are going to be highly recommended as examples in the Ohio Department of Education standards, science standards. So it'll be basically saying, reach out to this project, Project WET, Project WILD, Project Learning Tree, in order to solve this particular science standard. And some of you may or may not know that. Okay. So that's the last 3 targets. Let's go ahead and go back home. We can look at the next 2 tabs. I think my internet connection, there we go. So we got, let's look at investigate fresh water. And we have our start. Let's play our video.
What is one thing we all share and can't live without? About 3% of all the water on Earth is fresh water. The rest is salt water found in the ocean. Although this might not sound like a lot, it is enough to support all life as long as we take care of it and respect it. All life requires fresh water to survive.
And then, of course, more resources that are on YouTube. You can, obviously, you can do the sound and take that away if it becomes too bothersome. And then you have investigate fresh water. So you're going to investigate fresh water and terrestrial habitats by moving the binoculars cursor around the screen. Click on each habitat to learn about animals and plants and call it home. So let's look around. Oh, there we go. So we have a wetlands and we have the wetland beaver. Let's find other ones. And we got fish. So rivers, aquatic species. How about over here? Deserts. There's some kind of desert mouse or mole. Let's see. Up on the lake in the mountains, we have the loon. Let's go higher. Anything. Oop. There's Bridger. You kind of get the idea what you can find there. Okay. All right. So exit. You can see a video here. Investigate fresh water.
A macroinvertebrate is an invertebrate. That means it doesn't have a backbone that you can see. That's macro. Macroinvertebrates are bugs. They live in like streams or rivers, lakes, ponds.
They help us understand the quality of the water. We are going to look at macroinvertebrates from 2 different places.
By looking at the bugs, they either come from low quality or high quality water. One station was dirty. Tolerant invertebrates were found there. I found like leeches and pouch snails and midge.
A little red worm.
The other one was clean without dirt. I don't think it's as polluted. You have the mayflies, dragonfly nymphs, caddisflies, and they're very intolerant. They like the cleaner water. This one is a Dobson fly. The water's very clean.
The water sample with the tolerant macroinvertebrates came from a pond, and the sample with the intolerant macroinvertebrates came from a mountain stream.
That was pretty fun because you never knew what you'd find.
Whoa, what is that? I found a worm.
Isn't that cool?
You may see there's 2 logos there. The Apple logo, Wet logo is our older logo. We do now have our updated logo for 2020. So Project Wet, you can see here it says water education, and it has the waves or the blue logo that we're changing to. So you might see a couple different versions until we get everything updated. That just changed back in March of this year. Here's again what you can learn. So little pop quizzes you can take. Again, these 3 tabs are all the same as well. If we go back home, we'll look at our last tab. And we'll look at watersheds. Let Bridger load it. So then here you can find your watersheds. You enter your zip code. So I'll go ahead and enter my code for work. And we find more of, or hit go. And eventually it's going to take you to surf your watershed at the US EPA, that you can do extensive more look up more resources and so forth about your particular watershed. Oops, back one. So you can play the video.
What are you always in, no matter where you are standing? No matter where you live and how much or how little water is nearby, you live in a watershed. A watershed is an area of land that drains into a river, stream, or lake. It includes everything within its borders: all the land, air, plants, animals, mountains, deserts, cities, farms, and even people, their stories and traditions.
And then again, more resources as well on YouTube. And then you have a video over here you can play, another watershed activity that I'll let you do on your own. And then what did you learn? Quizzes. And then again, take action, My Science Notebook, and educators and parents, more resources for you. Okay, so that's the 3 tabs. We'll go home. And I just briefly also want to kind of tie everything together and show you our online training. Let me go here. This is a online self-paced training that you can take as an educator. They did reduce, because with the pandemic, it was $59.95, but you will get the educator guide once you go through the training. The training has to be run through myself as a state coordinator here in Ohio. So basically you will go online if you would like to purchase it for $40. And then I get a notification that Sarah Smith in Hamilton County wants to purchase the Project Wet guide and go through the online training. I then will email you a code that starts the training. You do activities and exercises, learn about Project Wet, get more in depth. You do some peer teaching online as well. You submit some surveys and resources to me as a state coordinator. And then about 3/4 of the way through, I would say, you get a second code, and that prompts Project Wet from the national office to send you the new 2.0 educators guide with over 60 different activities in it, very colorful, and a lot of the activities that we talked about, various parts of those activities are on the tabs that we looked at today, are in this particular 2.0 educators guide. So that's an option for you. And then lastly, to kind of tie everything all together, please be aware that we do at the Ohio EPA Office of Environmental Education, we do have the Ohio Environmental Education Fund. That education fund has 2 types of grants. There's mini grants from $500 to $5,000, and general grants from $5,000 to $50,000. I will tell you, if there are teachers on here from other states, such as Indiana and Kentucky, that money is not allowed, or you're not allowed to apply for those funds. But however, if it's benefiting students or citizens in the state of Ohio, you certainly can be a part of that as a resource. If you're an educator and you want to reach out to other educators in the state of Ohio, you can be part of it that way. But the dollars have to be used within the state of Ohio. We do have 2 grant rounds, January and July each year. I will tell you, because of the pandemic, we did not have our July grant round because of the funding and just not being able to sign contracts per Governor DeWine's executive order. So we have a batch of grants that we had approved in March, and then not necessarily signed contracts with them, but they're just kind of sitting there waiting. They were approved by our review committee, and they're just kind of holding off because we can't sign any grant agreements per Governor DeWine's order. So we didn't have a grant round in July. It's not looking likely that we'll have a grant round in January 2021, but then maybe in July 2021, we will open the fund back up for applications. That money can be used for a variety of things in your classroom. Science supplies, microscopes, you've seen the kids collecting the macroinvertebrates, so collection nets, tubs, whatever's needed at the river to collect those bugs. Transportation, substitute teachers for yourself as well. So I would encourage you to check out the information that's on the GCEE website. and there's more information there about Project Wet. You also can contact me. My direct email is Dennis, it's DENNIS .Clement, CLEMENT at epa.ohio.gov. So dennis.clement at epa.ohio.gov. So please look at those resources, check out the Education Fund, check out the discoverwater.org, and then also the online teacher training if you're interested in that as well. Okay, Gwen, that wraps up. Do you have any questions or anything from the audience?
Awesome. Thank you so much for that presentation, Dennis. There were a few questions that popped up. And first of all is a comment from me. I absolutely love that your water cycle has excretion on there. Because we talk about that with students all the time. If the animals drink the water, then what happens to it?
Right. You got to know it goes somewhere.
Right. So a question for you about the discoverwater.org. Do people have to sign up to have an account, or is that just anybody can use that anytime?
Anytime. It's actually, there's a listing. If you go to projectwet.org, there are distance learning activities. And if you scroll down the page, you're going to find discoverwater.org, and you can learn more about it there and then start the activities and things.
Okay. I am going to announce our door prize winner before I get on with a couple other questions, because I want to make sure they have time to let us know they're still here. So if you are signed in as Laker P, as in Paul, Laker P, if you could just put something in the Q&A, yes, I'm here. And then what we will do is use the email that you logged on with today to contact you with Dennis so that you can get your door prize. Okay, so if you are Laker P, who just put in the Q&A that you're here, so we will hook you up with Dennis and you will get your door prize. You guys can arrange that.
Okay, great.
A few more questions, Dennis, for you. I know you talked about virtual workshops, and I know that I've presented Project Wet. I am a certified facilitator for those of you interested. And hopefully we will be able to get back to that someday.
Yeah, plans are right now to have some form of small virtual settings or workshops, if you will, or at least sessions that you can learn more about Project Wet. We have actually, there's a sampler's guide that we have that has 7 different of the 60 Project Wet activities in it that we can use during those workshops. That's kind of a nice resource. You don't really necessarily have to take the workshop to get it. We want you to, at least in the virtual form, take it and during our times that we're dealing with now. So those plans are being made for late fall, early winter, or even next winter, January, February. And then we hope to be back in person eventually with a state coordinators workshop or state facilitators workshop, where I train people like yourself who are very important to me, getting the message out and doing the activities from the Soil and Water District standpoint. We hope to do those facilitator trainings late next year, hopefully, depending on what virus is doing and so forth and so on. But yeah, we will be doing that. We'll be posting. I'll make sure that all the facilitators know when those sessions are planned and ready to go, that teachers can tap into.
Awesome. Now I have one more question that's going to kind of put you on the spot, because students love to do this to me all the time. So I'm going to pass it right back to you.
Okay.
I get asked the question all the time, would you consider water a renewable or non-renewable resource?
Oh boy, that's a good question. What's your answer? You give them.
So you go first and then I'll tell you my answer.
Well, I mean, water is always here. I mean, we have water that's been recycled for millions of years. You might have always heard the old adage that we're drinking water the dinosaurs drink. We're drinking water the dinosaurs excreted, that the moose or the deer, or here in Ohio, specifically the deer, white-tailed deer, excreted, so forth and so on. So to me, it looks like it'd be a renewable thing because it goes through the cycle, but we have to take care of what we have. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Now,
Okay.
what I always tell the kids, very similar to what you do, the water that we have on our planet has been here millions of years. We can't make new water, and we can't
Yep.
really destroy it. We can make it dirty and mess it up, but we can't really destroy it. So I always tell them it's non-renewable because we can't
Okay.
make more of it.
That's
But
true. That's true.
I've run into a lot of classes where teachers, it's kind of almost 50-50, you know, it's just an
Well-
interesting little thing.
Right. And it's interesting that we have to take care of what we have.
Yep.
Because surface of the earth, and just say here in Ohio, we have 1% of the water that we 1% is our fresh water. And you can imagine all the things that use fresh water, the animals and humans, and what you use it for on a daily basis. And we have to have it to survive. So it's very important that we take care of that fresh water. And of course, not only that, but our polar ice caps and our oceans as well.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Dennis and Carolyn, I know you were sticking in there a little bit too. I want to thank you both so much. And again, all of Dennis's contact information is on our GCEE webpage, so you can get all the information for the Discover Water. All of his handouts that he was talking about today, all of that stuff is also on the GCEE website. So I want to thank Ohio EPA so much for doing a virtual breakout session for us today.
All right. Thanks for having us, Gwen.
Thank you.